Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town Tech Educational Podcast Studio at Portland High School. And this is our Town of Portland Portland School District update and podcast. And with us in the studio is our Superintendent, Dr. Philip O'Reilly, and our high school principal, Miss Kate Lawson. And
Hello.
welcome all.
Thank you for having us.
Good
Great
to
to
see
be
you.
here.
All right, excellent. And I know, Philip, you're heading off into the sunset shortly,
One would never know that, Dave.
as far as that goes. But we want to congratulate you on your tenure here and all your great work that you've done, in the district with all of our staff. So it's been a pleasure working with you. So, anyway, I just thought today's podcast we could cover, some things with covering the high school seniors, what's going on with the graduation, as well as what's going to happen, going forward during the summer and the fall, and what's going to happen. So, Philip, if you'd like to jump in, feel free to jump on it.
So, yeah, I will. Let me start with the fact that we're already in a transition period, and
Sure.
and we certainly want to give due diligence to our senior class. They're a very talented group of students, and Principal Lawson has worked with lots of constituents to come up with the best graduation process that really celebrates the achievements of these students. And so I'm going to defer to her to talk about that specifically. But when I talk about transition process, we now are reflecting on the past 11 weeks, 12 weeks, since we've become a distance learning by default district, and what are we learning about it? What have we learned about what we can do better, and how can we prepare for the unknown? Because right now we don't know what school's going to look like
Right.
in September of 2020, but we want to be prepared based on what we have learned in the past 11 or 12 weeks
Sure.
of distance learning.
hmm I know that, your whole administrative team has been, come out of the gate, running. And I think kudos to your whole administrative team, and as far as a district as a whole, of being right on top of the district learning situation and transitioning, when this whole pandemic thing went down. So it's great to see, and I think not only the administration but the teachers as well as the students have adapted to that. Your take on that. I know you guys did a survey and so forth, and tell us a little about that.
Well, we appreciate the accolades. Thank you very much. But we also we have grown, through this process.
Sure.
And first I want to thank my administrative team for the great work that they've done as a team. We didn't come out of the gate as a group of 8 or 9 individuals. We came out as one team, and in fact, Ralph Zampano from the Board of Selectmen was a part of that team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As an ad hoc administrative member. And so we have processed this each and every day as we've encountered the challenges that we couldn't expect because we didn't know what to expect, and we did our very best job. And so my thanks to the administrative team in their efforts to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And the kudos, obviously, as always, because it always comes down to the teachers, kudos to them for what they were able to do that we asked them to do.
Sure.
And to roll out and do that important work with kids.
Absolutely.
And so as we transition, I think there are some big pieces that we need to think about. One is when our children do come back, the social emotional challenges of being sidelined, if you will, homebound, if you will,
Yeah.
not experiencing any kind of closure to a school year and a classroom of students and teacher connections. We're going to need to think that through and think about how that plays into our reintegration into school, the physical reintegration into school. I think we need to think about the implications on families This has been a significant challenge for families of all socioeconomic backgrounds. And of course, Portland represents, we have all socioeconomic backgrounds represented in the town of Portland.
Sure.
And these challenges they don't come by from economy, if you will. They are very unique to each and every family. We have family members who are teachers themselves and who are trying to teach a classroom of kids while also supporting their own children. We have families that have had no educational training and have been thrown into the teacher by design, mode. And so we need to understand that and the needs of our parents, especially if we have to do this again in the fall. And then, of course, we have those concerns about where kids are academically. Mm-hmm. But I did put that last somewhat purposefully because I think we've got to think about the social emotional needs. We've got to think about where the families and how the families have struggled through this, and because we don't want to then just expect that all of these benchmarks that haven't been met are going to be met, immediately, because they're not.
Right.
And we need to design a process for those kids, for all of our kids, to continue their education. And that whole notion of benchmark and seat time related benchmark, is just not going to work. So
right.
We need to rethink that, and it's going to look very different. If we come back and do everything the way we did on March 12th or in the beginning of this process, if we just go back and do the same in public education, I don't think we're going to walk away with new learning. I don't think we're applying the new learning. I think we have learned things about kids and learning and parents and families, and we should apply that now, whatever school looks like in the fall.
Well, rightfully so. And I think, what it's looking like now and what it's going to look like during the summer and into the fall, is all going to be predicated because the situation, as we all know, is very fluid, depending on how the pandemic numbers are and how we're going to have to adjust on a state level. Up to now, I think at last count, I believe the governor has instituted 87 executive orders. That's probably going to change, between now and the fall. So
Certainly will.
You guys are going to have to adapt to that, depending on, what comes down the pike. And,
I'm glad you said adapt because, that's they're guidelines that we will use.
Sure.
But my administrative team won't be my administrative team for that much longer, but this administrative team and these talented group of teachers are going to have to take that whatever executive order that does come down, whatever directive from the State Department of Education that does come down, they're going to have to take that, but adapt it to our students.
Sure.
And our families.
Exactly.
That's what is an important takeaway for Philip O'Reilly in this process.
Right, and I know you guys participate in weekly calls with the State Board of Education, both you and Kate and the whole administrative team, and again, they're kind of feeling their way through as well as you guys are, as far as that goes, and being able to adapt to that, and every solution isn't going to be a cookie cutter solution.
Can't be. What's good for students in East Hartford is not necessarily, even though East Hartford is very close to here, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be applicable here exactly. In Portland.
So, that's great stuff. And like I say, kudos to, all your administrative team as well as the administrators. So, hopefully going forward, we can, get through the summer and hopefully our numbers are going to change and things are going to hopefully come back to some type of a new normal. And Kate, you're smiling. So, but
one more thing, if I may, and that is what I said to the administrative team this morning. Let's move away from thinking that school begins in the fall, because I think we have to think that perhaps school is going to begin this summer.
Sure.
And August will be an important month as we transition back to whatever model it is.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there because I think we have to change our frame our mindset, if you will.
Sure, there's going to be a new baseline.
There's
that,
a new baseline.
absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. And how are you doing, Kate? Are you getting?
Okay, I'm not going to cut you off anymore.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
It's-
The May and June in a school is almost always the busiest time of year, and it most certainly is no exception. Is no exception this year, and certainly a large spotlight has been on the graduating class and on their needs. But I think we would be remiss not to look at all of the transitions that students are making. We have students finishing up elementary school. We have students finishing up kindergarten. We have a very big transition between 8th and ninth grade.
Sure.
And many of us have college graduates who kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Sure.
So while the focus in my work most recently has been in supporting the senior class, I continue, and I will always continue to be impressed with the parent community and the school community around supporting all learners, because I think we really are a district that takes care of one another. I also think we are a district that places a tremendous amount of faith in one another.
Yes.
We know we will come through with a wonderful celebration for our seniors. And I'm very fortunate to have a very, very supportive parent base, and parents who, while they are truly mourning the rite of passage that is graduation for their
Right.
children, they are committed and they are creative, and they are helping in every way that they can. Our seniors as well are displaying a maturity beyond their years
Now,
and recognizing this is where we are. So how do we make it great?
sure.
And I think that's what I will remember them for. We were given guidance from the Commissioner of Education in mid-May with basically 3 options for graduation that were to be held in June. And those guidelines suggested either a completely virtual ceremony, a drive-through ceremony, or a drive-in ceremony. In Portland, we have selected the drive-in option. And speaking to your point, Philip, about how things that work in Portland might not work in a larger district, we're very lucky that our size allows us to do a very personal drive-in ceremony.
Right.
It was the number one wish of the class of 2020 was that they could see one another get their diplomas. And that makes me proud and makes my heart sing that was their wish. So we are looking at creating a safe, socially distant, compliant drive-in graduation on June 11th, which was their original graduation date as set by the Board of Education. It will be in the back of the high school near the tennis courts, with a sound system and the opportunity for each student to individually walk across the stage. Our project graduation committee is hard at work helping with decorations and setting the stage to make it memorable. They've also secured professional photography for the event so that every family will leave with professional pictures. And again, really partnering with us to make it a very memorable event for kids. We also are very lucky that we have some corporate partners that have really supported us, and one of them is Jostin's Yearbook Company. Many of you may be soon receiving digital links to sign someone's yearbook. And they have created a web-based yearbook signing platform for students so that they can collect their memories as they would almost in real time. So that's what the students are busy working on now. And then the senior class moving on is recently participated in a survey to talk about things they'd like to do when the restrictions are lifted. They were not able to have their safe graduation overnight that they typically do after a graduation. So they're brainstorming ideas of a one-year reunion or a send-off party or a barbecue. So I have a feeling they're going to end up being, as we look back at them over time, one of the more cohesive classes that's come through Portland High School.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that struck me, and I think it struck you as well, is, we've been kind of struggling with, how to get this done. And, the people that you reached out to, not only in the senior class and the junior class, because one of the ideas that I recall that was on the table was combining the seniors and the juniors for next year and so forth. And the seniors and juniors, unanimously said, no, we don't want that. We don't want to infringe on the juniors, and the juniors didn't want to infringe on the seniors. They wanted their own day. And I thought that was remarkable, from a standpoint, like you say, from the unity on both the junior and senior classes. That was quite remarkable.
And what's interesting as a follow-up to that, because the seniors were being very gracious, saying, no, 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 the juniors should have their own time. And then after our conversation, the juniors came back and they said, we'd be happy to share.
Yeah.
And they were just so willing to, they see themselves as a school community.
Sure.
They lost the opportunity to have a prom this year, and they handled it with maturity and grace.
And many other things.
And many other things, for sure, for sure.
No school play, no school concerts, no band extravaganza.
And also
No trip to Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
yes, and the spring sports season.
Yes. And yeah.
And over the past 2 nights, I've been listening to some of the seniors on the sports teams via Google Meet, and they've made me proud with their grace.
Sure.
So that's something to really reflect on and think about. And then we're looking to find the ways to really deepen those connections and send off these kids, knowing that they will always have a home base at Portland High School.
Sure. From the sports community in the school and so forth, and you've got a very strong sports community. And in fact, some of your high school seniors, JT Jagoda and a couple of his comrades, they started their own podcast and updating everything. And we're going to get JT and his crew back in here. I think just to reiterate. How they're finishing up the year, and just to summarize, from a sports perspective on how the year is culminating and finishing out. So that'd be great.
Absolutely.
One of the characteristics of great athletes is resiliency.
Absolutely.
And these kids have demonstrated that in a different way.
Sure.
And I think that is admirable.
Yeah.
As Kate says.
Well, I think, and again, kudos to everybody. I mean, we're on unprecedented times, and as not only the school district, the town, but the state as well as the country, is going to evolve from this, is yet to be seen, and that again, as you say, Philip, we're going to have to adapt and move forward, and every town and every state is different, and we're going to have to make those adjustments from that standpoint. Yeah. The other thing too, from a standpoint of, I know we Philip, we just finished the town just finished their budget process this past week, and I think the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen have worked. It was a tough year, and I think the collaboration and the unity that both the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen exhibited was exemplary. It really was, and how the town comes together, and nobody got what they wanted, but I think we came up with an amicable solution, especially from a town.
I always say that successful negotiation is that nobody gets everything they wanted, but everybody gets something.
Exactly.
And we're grateful for the town's support as we move forward, particularly the support for our new special education programming. So that is something that we took away, that we are so excited and so ready to implement.
Sure.
This new behavioral, social, emotional program at Brownstone School.
Well, in that respect, it was a win-win, and
Absolutely.
I think from a standpoint of the overall citizenry in the town of Portland, I think especially in lieu of the town through the government, the governor's executive order of not being able to hold a referendum, the Zoom meetings that both the Board of Ed and the town have been holding, as everybody knows, they've been all virtual meetings, and we've through those Zoom meetings, and Kevin can attest to this, the engagement with the town citizens was unbelievable. Even more so, your Board of Education meetings, if you get 20 people in the Board of Ed meeting in the library, that's a good night. We were having 40 to 60 people in those meetings.
Again, we can't look at this last 3 or 4 months as totally negative. We got to look at what we can take away from this. And one of the things that the Board of Ed can take away from this is, gee, we now need to put all of our meetings on Zoom
Yeah.
so that we can engage 40, 50, 60, 70 people per meeting and not, you said 20 lucky. We're lucky to get 3, 4, or 5 people.
Well,
Usually it's more administrators than it is public.
Right.
So you know, there's a great takeaway, and I don't think it's difficult at all for us
Sure.
to move forward to make sure that these meetings are live for everybody via Zoom.
And I think the Board of Selectmen have realized the same thing because, again, the point where, you have some selectmen's meetings, you have, the press there, you have some of the administrators there, and, depending on the agenda, you may only have 3 or 4 public, and,
Right.
and that's about it. But through this process, I think it really avails the public of a lot more transparency and engagement that, I think the town and the school board can feel good about.
Well, kudos to you and Kevin, because we could not have done it without you.
Well, hey, it's a team effort, and
Well, we appreciate that
and fortunately we had some equipment that we could do it with. We're looking to upgrade that equipment, and we'll talk about that later as far as that
I think
goes.
you're looking for money.
Yeah. Gee. As far as that goes, but I think going forward, I think just the way of doing business, not only from a municipal standpoint, but the Board of Education, but even from an economy standpoint, I think the ways of doing business are drastically going to have a new look next year. People are realizing, and corporations are realizing, hey, we don't have to rent a whole high-priced office space. We can, when people are working from home, and it's there are advantages, but that's great. So, well, hey, thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate it. And Kate, I'd like to, extend the invitation of as we go forward here to make this a regular happening, because I think it's great to the podcasts are now on our, not only on our website, but are all on all of the podcast feeds. Whoever consumes their media, whether it's whether it's YouTube, whether it's Pandora, whether it's Anchor or whatever, it's all out there now, and we've got the RSS feeds to go with it, so you can find it. It's there, and it's amazing the amount of listens that we're getting on our podcast. So, guys, thank you so much. We're live here at the Town Tech Educational Partnership podcast studio at Portland High School, and I'm your host, Dave Kuzminski. And Philip, congrats on your awesome tenure here in the town of Portland, and we wish you well in your new endeavors as you step off into another endeavor.
Raising puppies,
That too. Yes. Well, I know
raising chickens,
that too. Okay.
gardening.
That's it.
And I have a new part-time job as executive director of the Odyssey Community School in Central Connecticut,
Nice.
Manchester.
Okay. And Kate, again, we look forward to working with this coming year.
Absolutely. And I will see everyone virtually at graduation.
Exactly. We'll look forward to it. So, again, thanks so much. And we are going to get this podcast post-produced, and we will also get the podcast over to the Comcast channel, so it can be viewed on the Comcast educational channel that our Portland on the Move show is aired on. So, thanks so much.
Terrific.
Thank you.
And as I end all our podcasts going forward, it's stay home, stay safe, and wash your hands. Thanks so much.